Shapovalenko is a project manager at EasyBusiness, which is an Atlas Network partner based in Ukraine. Now, when Russia began its invasion of her country, Kate left for the United States, where she still resides. Now, that doesn't mean that her work has stopped, though. She's actually been continuing to work for greater liberty for her fellow Ukrainians, even while outside the country. She's a fantastic advocate for the freedom movement, generally, not just for Ukraine, but abroad. And Kate, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
It's so good to have you here. I mean, we got to meet each other back in, December, was it, in Miami for Atlas Networks? Oh, time flies, hey? And it's not like much has happened since then, right? But quite the contrary. The contrary.
Yeah.
Kate, tell me about you. What's your story? How did you get involved in the freedom movement?
Yeah, so I'm Kate from Ukraine. I'm with the Ukrainian free market think tank, EasyBusiness. Actually, I joined this organization 5 years ago as an intern when I was a sophomore student in Ukrainian university. Yeah. And I'm with Freedom Women since that time.
That's great. That's a good chunk of time, too. I've been at Atlas about 5 years myself, so we probably started
we just
in the freedom movement at the same time. Great minds think alike, Kate, I reckon.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, yeah.
And how did you find yourself going from Ukraine to the United States a few months ago? How did that happen?
Well, it was a very exciting story, and I think the most powerful story I had in my entire life. So originally, I didn't plan to come to the U.S., and it was just a nice opportunity to meet again with my friends from the U.S., also from Liberty Movement, and they were inviting me for the conference in D.C. and also for Project Arizona in Arizona State. And I kept thinking about should I go or no, because I still have some work in Ukraine to do. Yeah. And then one time I thought, I woke up from a missile strike in my capital city, Kyiv. And that time I realized I have to go to the U.S.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, I can't even imagine what it would be like waking up to missile strikes as a way to have to, okay, probably time to go, you know, which is just insane to me. But obviously everything that we're seeing on TV, online is really very difficult to watch. How does it make you feel as a Ukrainian watching that unfold?
Oh, this is so terrible. I can't remember. The exact moment all this happened, I was just sleeping, and I heard all this terrible loud noise outside of my window in the downtown of Kyiv, and then I decided, it's time to go somewhere else and just to be in the safe place. And I saw so many people, and they didn't know what to do because they were planning going to work, to their vacation, whatever. But now all their plans were crushed, and they only just wanted to survive and just move to a safer place. And even when I was in the U.S. and even when I'm in the U.S. right now, I was my brain, my mind, and my soul was with all my family, friends, and colleagues in Ukraine. Especially when I was talking with them and I could hear missile strikes or alerts on the phone, and it was very striking to me.
That's terrifying. I can't imagine what that would have been like, having to be away from your family and going through all that. And I understand that at least for right now, your family is okay, generally speaking.
Yeah, as I was saying that Russians, my family, they're in Chernihiv and Chernihiv region, which is at northern part of Ukraine. I think a few weeks ago, Russians left the territory. So finally, my family, they have stable access to food, electricity, water.
That's great
and I'm
news.
very happy for them right now. But still, Russians, they moved to other territories of Ukraine, and they just exploring all those places also.
Yes, I mean, I'm very glad to hear that the immediate threat to your family seems to have passed. But as you say, that by no means changes the dangerous and volatile situation that you and your country is in, Kate. Well, EasyBusiness has been an Atlas Network partner for many years. We love the work you do. Very impressive stuff. How has EasyBusiness been navigating this period of conflict? What sort of projects have been put on hold, and what's it working on despite these challenges?
Well, I think that's just great challenges. They also create great opportunities for the countries overall to rethink the overall strategy and come up with the initiative that would transform the country immediately. But of course, first of all, we really appreciate all the support from our technical and I think development partners from all over the world, like Atlas Network, because you really helped us to sustain our activities and continue helping Ukraine. On the first day of war, we immediately mobilized. So first of all, we had contingency plan. So some of our employees were relocated to the western part of Ukraine, and they're in a safe place, in the comparatively safe place.
Sure.
And some of them moved abroad, like me, for example. So we could be in the safe place and continue working for Ukraine. So we tried to do our best. So we helped mostly with analytics and policy recommendations for the government. We had very wide experience of working with COVID crisis for Ukraine. So we tried to use the same approach and kind of help Ukraine in that dimension also.
Yes. And I mean, it's amazing to see how quickly you and your team and many of our friends in the Ukraine Freedom Movement were able to spring into action so quickly. And we're very humbled to be able to support your work through the Ukraine Freedom Funders Atlas Network, because what I find really inspiring, and I'm excited to talk to you more about this, is how there's a very real and immediate threat, obviously, of the invasion. But at the same time, as you said, there are opportunities here. And once this passes, hopefully sooner rather than later, you and your team are working to build a free, prosperous, open Ukraine, a better country than it has, even was before the invasion. And I really admire that, because that's something that shows a vision that you are looking to such a prosperous future. And I'm sure that must be encouraging to you as a way to get through this challenging time.
Yeah, definitely. We really want and we strive to build number one economically free country in the world. So Ukraine will be prosperous, free, open, transparent for the entire world. And of course, we keep up with our vision. And right now, we understand there are imminent threats to the Ukrainian security, to the Ukrainian economy.
Yes.
But we also keep an eye on the long-term opportunities and strategies. So the way how to build, how to recover Ukraine and modernize it. So we're currently working on this very heavily.
I'm curious on exactly that point, Kate, when it comes to the immediate challenges and risks that are being faced. Is there still an opportunity to work with the government of Ukraine to expand liberty despite the conflict going on right now? Have you found opportunities to try and move the needle towards freedom even in the midst of crisis?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think such crisis, we're really surprised by the way that there is such a great degree of spontaneous order all over Ukraine. Right from the first day of war, different organizations, people, businesses, the government, they try to work on different initiatives, and sometimes separately, sometimes not coordinated with each other, but all together they brought a very interesting result that worked out and helped to sustain the war and actually win the war for Ukraine.
Yes.
So I think it was a very great example and like case study how Ukraine could cope with this. And regarding the government, I think they also think about liberalizing or just deregulating the economy so the businesses could kind of preserve their activity during the war and then would be able to recover.
Yes.
And of course, we are a great supporter and we advocate for deregulation for businesses so they could thrive and continue working for the benefits of Ukraine.
It's amazing to hear about those kind of results, because when you think about the invasion and the very real risk to life that's happening, it still doesn't detract from people need to make money, the economy needs to work, things need to have a vision for the future. And I love hearing about the work that you and EasyBusiness are doing to work with the decision makers and policymakers to create environments to enable businesses to flourish and continue despite what's going on. I have to ask, Kate, how are you feeling generally about the situation in Ukraine? Are you optimistic that there is a strong positive future that's going to come out of this terrible chapter of history?
Well, I think that my beliefs and my opinion hasn't changed since I arrived to the U.S. I think even back that time, people were really hesitant about saying about the bright future for Ukraine or some positive results. But we're really confident that Ukraine will win this war because we are on our land and we are fighting for our freedom. And Russians, they're just fighting for Putin and his ambitions and whatever. So the truth is with us, and we really hope that it's actually our price for liberty, and we will pay this terrible price, but actually we will win. Yeah. And I think after that, Ukraine will revitalize and will come up with a really nice opportunities. and will become a really great country for the entire world.
No, I'm totally with you, and I think that is such a powerful vision that you've set out there, and I agree. And it's really interesting. Obviously, Atlas Network's very own Dr. Tom Palmer, who's been on Borderless plenty of times, has spent a little time in Poland and Ukraine recently, helping with the Ukraine Freedom Fund, and he makes the very powerful point. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but this is a rare moment in history where there is such a clear black and white divide. You have Ukraine, your team, standing up for freedom, prosperity, like individual rights, against the Kremlin-backed, Putin ideology of a liberalism and its destructive force. And that makes this such an important arena for these ideas, for us to stand behind you and defend the work and look to that optimistic future you set out, because that's what we're literally fighting for. That's what you're fighting for,
Yeah, exactly. And also, we really invite all of the liberty-minded, our free, liberty-loving friends from all over the world, because such a great opportunity so everyone can cooperate. Ukraine right now faces unprecedented risks and challenges. And there's a great degree and lots of places for best minds from all over the world to come to the Ukraine or just working remotely online and submit the ideas how they would see the future of Ukraine and how we can cope with those risks.
Yes.
So right now we definitely on the platform of Center for Economic Recovery and also EasyBusiness will be glad to cooperate with all people from all over the world on different ideas.
I love that. And I mean, it is great to see, even with you sitting right here, that there is this global movement that is invested in the success of Ukraine and wants to work with people like you and your team. I know you mentioned before we started the interview that EasyBusiness recently produced, some interesting research, and you had to stay up late for the launch. But it's amazing to know that those work outputs are still happening. What's it like working with EasyBusiness during the middle of a war?
Well, I think it's really exciting and challenging because you really try to have a very great team. I think the best people I met in my entire life who are very dedicated and passionate about the work they do. So right now we just come up with the idea to see, well, how much resources Russia still has, and so she could sponsor the war. And we try to check all data about Russia, about the available resources, frozen assets, non-frozen assets, to see and calculate how many more years, months, or days Russia can fight.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting and fascinating. And I think we still try with all of our team to build really evidence-based recommendations for the government, for the world, how to fight this war or just cope with other threats. So it's really interesting to work with the team overall.
I love that. Taking the very strong research capabilities of a group like EasyBusiness and channeling them in such a meaningful way. I mean, analyzing the economic data on how long Russia could continue this war, that's literally a life or death question when it comes to coming up with strategies and how to respond. And I mean, it's very inspiring to hear your work and EasyBusiness doing that kind of hard-nosed research to give these kind of answers despite there being a conflict. It's very impressive, Kate. How has it felt to you having to watch the war from over here in the United States? Is it a strange feeling having to, witness your country and your friends go through all this from another continent?
Oh, first of all, I think I was really surprised by the great degree of support from all of our people I meet. So despite in the supermarket or my friends or just work, all people are so supportive.
That's great.
They support Ukraine. They donate for humanitarian or military aid. They also host people from Ukraine. And there is also a great support from Ukrainian diaspora. They just mobilize from different states, and they work really amazing. So I think I'm really surprised by all of the work from different parts of from the U.S. At the same time, I think during the first days and the first weeks of war, I was on a daily. I was talking with my family almost every day, and I was really scarified about to listen to all these missile attacks and just noises on the phone. It really scared me a lot because I still remember them when I was in Ukraine. So, but right now I think I could hear them less, but I keep reading all those terrible stories from different parts of Ukraine, and I couldn't really understand that it can really happen in the 21st century.
No, it's shocking, and the increasing evidence of the war crimes that have happened are very shocking for all of us watching that. I have been encouraged by what seems, from my perspective, to be a very strong response from the free world and governments like the United States and United Kingdom rallying to defend Ukraine and try and support both lethal and non-lethal aid to keep this country, vibrant, strong, independent. How have you viewed the international response to the situation in Ukraine? What do you think of how the world's governments have responded?
As a Ukrainian citizen, I think we greatly value all support we received. It was actually unprecedented support for the Ukraine from all the countries and people, individuals, businesses especially. It was a great degree of support, and we definitely appreciate all of them. We definitely appreciate humanitarian support, lethal and non-lethal support from different governments.
Yes,
it definitely strengthens our brave army and helps us to continue with the war. Yeah.
I'm with you, and it has been encouraging to see such a strong response from my perspective, because the stakes are really so high, and we want to see Ukraine succeed. We want to see Ukraine flourish, from the outside. What do you think is needed more, though? Like, what sort of things do you think we, government, civil society outside Ukraine, what could we be doing more to help?
Yeah, as I said, that we base all our recommendations on data.
Yes.
And we just released this piece of information. What we see right now, that there are two streams of support needed for Ukraine overall. So first of all, we need to cut Russia from all possible resources that Russia can use to sponsor the war. So it means stop buying Russian oil and Russian gas, because it seems like Russia entered the war with the assumption that no country in the world would stop buying their oil and gas. So we have to stop buying this and put the full embargo. At the same time, we have to freeze Russian reserves, so they will have no backup plan to replenish their capital. From the second point of view, we also have to support Ukrainian with heavy weapons, because Ukraine is fighting really strongly to support the free Europe and free Ukraine. So I think it's very essential streams of work. Yeah.
Yes.
So more heavy weapons for Ukraine, and also just put full embargo on Russia.
Yes, I mean, as it seems like EasyBusiness has proven through your data-driven work, if Russia can't pay its bills, it's not going to be continuing the invasion. So, I mean, making it hurt in the hip pocket seems like a very strong way to hopefully bring an end to this horrible conflict as soon as possible. And I love that there is that research being done by your team, despite everything that's going on. I'm kind of curious, Kate, how do you think this will play out, in the sense that, the stakes are really high in Ukraine, not just life and death, but we're talking, as you said, like almost a buffer state for the rest of Europe. What do you think we risk if Ukraine does not prevail in this conflict?
So we still don't know. Like, if, for example, if in such case, Russia, there is no actually situation, Russia could move further, and he would try to escalate to other territories all over the borders of Russia. So we don't know how long it can sustain. Also, Russia has additional weapon like nuclear, and it could carry also nuclear attacks. So we don't know how far it could go. So that's why it should be stopped right now. And I think world is really surprised by the bravery of Ukrainian army that currently stands like a front and helps the entire Europe and shields the entire Europe.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a great and amazing story of freedom and movement that should be supported from all over the world.
I completely agree.
Not to spread all over Europe.
Yes, making a strong stand now for these values that we believe in, for freedom, liberty, individual rights, all that good stuff that you described, needs to be defended.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen by itself, and I love to see it. Kate, obviously, and we spoke a bit about this, the Ukraine Freedom Fund that Atlas Network's driven, we've been very proud to be able to support groups like EasyBusiness on the ground, and we've been very humbled by our supporters who share our belief that we need to invest in you. We need to support your work on the ground in Ukraine. So, in mind of our gratitude for the donors, is there any sort of message that you would want to give, the people who are supporting a free and open Ukraine?
Yeah, definitely. I think they really help from the world of all our team and EasyBusiness, and I think all other think tanks operating in Ukraine right now really support for helping us to sustain our operations and continue working for the benefits of free, open, and economically prosperous Ukraine. Thank you so much. It's a very great help for us.
That's a fantastic message. Thank you for your kind words. I know we are all, not just the Atlas Network team, but our community of freedom-loving people across the United States and the world are fully backing the important work that's being done. And as you said, it's obviously the immediate crisis of humanitarian aid and trying to survive this horrible conflict, but also we want to see groups like EasyBusiness flourish. We want to see you succeed and build an even better country going into the future. And thank you for all the work that you're doing. Kate, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're busy. You're a fantastic spokesperson for the work that's being done. So I need to ask you, how can we stay in touch with you and the work of EasyBusiness moving forward?
Oh, definitely. In the era of all of this internet, I think definitely there is a website of EasyBusiness. There's also a Facebook page and as well as Instagram of some of our people in our organization. I think we can attach it maybe to the page together with this podcast, so people could click and enter and see all of our recent updates.
Yeah, we want people to know what EasyBusiness is doing, because you have not slowed down. Quite the contrary, working very hard.
They're working very hard every day. Every night.
Absolutely. And we love to see it. Kate, thank you so much for giving up some of your time to come and talk to us on Borderless. I love catching up with you. It's always fun. And your positivity and passion about what EasyBusiness is achieving in the future of Ukraine is extremely motivating, even for someone on the outside like me.
That's
hearing
great.
that there is a positive force for good like EasyBusiness working for a better future is exactly the message I think people need to hear. So thank you so much for coming on board.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.